So, our next guest is no stranger to Black Authors Matter TV, and his name is Marc Lacy. I met Marc when he was first writing. I think maybe his first book had come out. He was at one of our early book festivals, maybe the first one. No, I think he was at the second one or the third. He was at one of the early ones. Anyway, uh, Marc, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV, and congratulations on your new book. You need to unmute. So let's see. Let's do that. Let's unmute so we can hear you.
And stop squinting and looking at the screen like an old man.
Unmute. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure and a blessing to be back once again.
Yeah, I think this is your third appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, it is.
In four years. I think you were on the first year, and then maybe a year and a half ago was your last time on. I'm just guessing, but I think it was about a year and a half ago. So you have a new book out, and so
yes,
we wanted you to come back and talk about the new book, but also update. Now, I remember when you were on, I think I had you on during Black History Month last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you have a new book out, and you kind of mix things up with what you do. So tell us what genres your books are in, because you don't just stick to one.
Right. Okay. So yes, I definitely would like to think of myself as a multi-genre author. And actually, when I saw the advertisement, I said, okay, I could use that tag.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out because I had to give everybody a label, and not everybody sticks strictly to one genre where you can, say that. So
right. So I came into the game actually 20 years ago as a poet, and I knew, and my representation at the time said, now you're pretty much going to typecast yourself coming into this game as a poet, young African-American male, and your demographic is the African-American female, and you go into these book club conferences, and those ladies are going to want to hear you say some sultry poetry. And look, I'm saying sultry because there's another word that I don't want to use. And so, but I was encouraged because I had always written flash fiction for years. So I was encouraged to test my hand at fiction. So about 6 years after I got published, did a fiction short story book called Wretched Saints, and that was in conjunction with author Ashanta Faye Howard. And so that was like my test bed for fiction. And then 5 years after that, full blown with the Whiskey House trilogy. And I thought at that particular juncture, I was just going to stick with fiction, but I'm a poet, spoken word artist by nature and by trade. So I had to go ahead and just release my poetry vault in, was it 2023, which was comprised of 7 poetry books.
Yeah.
And so after that, I had one left in the tank. And that's when I did the second part of Rock and Fire Love Poetry from the Core. So we arrived with Coco Inferno. And so we are here now. But as you can see, over the 20 years, I have flipped the script as far as genres are concerned. Went from poetry to fiction short stories, back to poetry, to a fiction trilogy, and then poetry once more. And now I'm actually working on another fiction trilogy.
I didn't realize you had released a bunch of poetry books last year.
I think you released about 7 or 8 of them all at one time.
Okay, so I released a total of 8 books last year, of which 7 7 were in the poetry vault. And the 8th book was actually the 3rd installment of the Whiskey House trilogy. And that was The Ghost of Ace Honeycutt.
That was the one I read.
Okay. Oh, you read The Ghost of Ace Honeycutt? So you read
Yes.
the 3rd one, but you didn't read the first.
Oh, shoot, now.
But I'm glad you read the 3rd one, but now you got to go read the first one and the 2nd one.
Okay.
Well, see, I knew about the fiction, but I missed the poetry vault release.
Yeah.
So how did you do that with the poetry? How did you decide to organize them in the 8? Were they in date order? Is it subject matter? What is it? How did you group them to come up with 8 books, 8 poetry books?
Well, okay, so that's a good question. So I had now 2 of them, and I actually thought I ran an ad with you as well. So I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
You might have,
and
but
so
you know, I'm doing so much stuff
right
between the show and my own books.
So
I try to keep it all in here, but it's sometimes
understood. Understood. So actually 2 of them were love poetry. And so on those, I think the title of those books were Enraptured Felicity and Beatific Ambrosia. And so on the cover of those books, I got some beautiful cover models from my hometown of Huntsville, Alabama. There were 5 models on each cover.
Okay.
And so, you know, when I do projects like this, I like to be all inclusive. You know, I like to, if I have a talent resource, definitely want to put those resources on display. So that worked out well. And then the other 5 were, there was one that was dedicated to odes. I did odes to certain public figures. One of them talked about social issues. Another one talked about general life issues. And there was one that talked about taboo issues, so on and so forth. But I had so much poetry, it was kind of hard to itemize it and divide it like that. So, because somebody asked me in another interview, how did you come up with this magic number of 7? And I said, well, I wanted to put a similar amount in each book. So each book roughly has about 80 to 85 original pieces in it.
That's a lot of poetry.
It is a lot of poetry.
And now, mind you, it was not written overnight. It's the vault. You know how Prince, and not comparing myself to Prince, but how, you know how Prince had the music vault? And I was like, you know, I know so many people who have written so many works, whether they're articles, short stories, blogs, but they're afraid to release them. I said, I got all of this poetry stored in my external hard drive, and it would be a shame not to release it. It had been, and a lot of it had been written a long time ago. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and get this organized. And it took me a while to get it organized. And I said, I've got to get this 3rd installment out of the Whiskey House trilogy. And so I just went ahead and released 8 at the same time. Somebody's like, well, you know, who does that? And I told them, I said, when you're an independent author, it doesn't matter who did it.
That's true.
You can do what you can do.
You
You can
blaze
release
your own
one
trail.
book or 20. If you
Right.
have them, you can do whatever.
Well, now, let me ask you this. So, right, when you said you pulled some poetry out that you wrote quite a while ago,
Right.
did you feel that you had to kind of brush them off a little bit? Did you have to tweak them a little?
Okay, so good question. There were some I did, and some, Rhonda, I left in the original form because I wanted to show the readers the evolution of my writing. So I wanted to show them that, okay, this is how I wrote in 2005. This is how I wrote in 2010. And I did add some current poetry as fillers for those books as well.
Okay, so it was like a true evolution then.
Right. And had I been thinking about it, I would have had them in my hand in reaching distance, like the previous guest said, and I could show the covers, but they're all on my website and they're all on Amazon.
Okay, now do you have a
y'all
copy
come on
of
the
your
show
new
to talk
one?
about your books and forget to bring your book with you?
Well,
Well, see, I didn't know we were going to talk about the poetry vault per se.
oh, okay. But you do have your Coco Inferno book handy,
Oh,
I hope.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Now is this one related to the whiskey books?
No,
Or
no. This
this
is
is a
the
standalone?
when Rock and Fire Love Poetry from the Core was released in 2007. I thought that was going to be it. And by the way, I don't know if you remember from the author back in the day who wrote the intro, Jamise Dames, wrote the intro to that.
I remember the name.
So
I remember the name.
And she wrote a dynamic intro for that book. And so also, I forget the individual literary awards. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. But in 2007, Rock and Fire Love Poetry from the Core was the runner-up book to a Nikki Giovanni book that actually won Poetry Book of the Year.
Oh,
So
that's good company.
yeah.
I know that's second place like a mug, but
yeah.
I mean, you don't get a medallion for second place. You don't get a silver medal, but that said something. So I was really proud of that. But that was it. And then so several years later, now the person who shot the cover and designed the cover is from my hometown, a photographer named Richie Carter, and the cover model's name is Sylvia Smith. She's a makeup artist. So we got into the 2020s, and I was hearing grumblings. Hey, sure would like a second version of Rock and Fire. I remember Rock and Fire, bye. And so I talked with my constituents and said, hey, if you're really feeling it, then let's go ahead and do it, because I've actually got some poetry that can really complement the direction in which we're trying to go. And so lo and behold, 15, 16 years later, same cover models, the same photographer shot it, but a different person designed it. And this is Rock and Fire Part 2, and the subtitle is Tempting Lyrics of Blazing Mahogany Ecstasy.
Okay.
Even the subtitle is poetic.
Yeah.
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 So,
so do you do spoken word? Do you do live poetry?
I mean, I've actually toured the nation as a spoken word artist.
Did you do some of your poetry at one of our festivals?
It may have been with the Love Literature Tour.
Yeah.
I may have done something like in 2012 or what have you.
It was before then. Or no,
I know
it was
the first
around
time
then.
I came was before then, but the Love Literature Tour came around 2012.
Yeah.
Now I can't recall having I performed in Houston before, but I'm not sure I performed at the National Black Book Festival.
Okay, I'm trying to remember it, because I know you all, when you all were touring the Kings of Literature, you were part of that group.
Yeah, the Love Literature Tour. Yeah, we went to Denver, Atlanta, Nashville, Houston, Dallas.
Was it you? It was you, Brian Smith, and Ricky Teams.
Ricky Teams, Vincent Alexandria.
Okay.
I don't want to leave anybody out. Moses Miller.
Okay.
Not everybody went on. Not everybody made it to every stop. Jihad.
Right.
Author Jihad was there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And there is another. I think Denver is probably the only stop where all 7 of us were there.
Mm.
And we were hosted by the single mothers of color, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But again, I don't like to name names. I don't like to leave anybody out. But I know at one point it was a total of 7.
7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was a good concept. It was
right.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some good company for sure.
Yeah. And most readers are women, so
right.
That's just factual. And that's across all nationalities.
Right.
75%.
Back in the day, if there were male authors at the book signing, we knew that they were getting all the
they would get all the attention.
Right.
and sometimes you would need some there just to bring some extra people in who wouldn't come otherwise.
Right, right.
That's just, marketing.
Oh, most
So,
definitely.
Can't get mad at it.
yeah, no. So I was scrolling I'm behind on my scrolling because I want to be current with the comments.
No, you're good so far.
Okay, well, I'm still scrolling up, and every time somebody new is watching it, it comes on, and so um, I wanted to make sure I was current. So, but I know you keep track of it better than I do. So, anyway, so Mark,
Mhm.
if you had to give advice to a person, because you've been in this game, I'll just use that term, for a long time,
Yes.
and I come across people, as I'm sure you do, all the time, first time authors
Hmm.
that they believe that the one book that they've written, they're going to set the world on fire with the one book.
Right.
So, as a person who's multi-published, multi-genre published, and been doing this for 2 decades,
Hmm.
what advice would you give to a new writer?
Well, I would always tell them, don't look at it as a sprint, look at it as a marathon, but don't wait to start the marathon. You need to hurry up and start the marathon. Also, don't wait on the stars to align. That's never going to happen. I even heard one person say, don't wait on stars to align. You reach up in the sky, move them around, and form your own constellation. Uh,
Well,
so no,
that's
no time is the perfect time to get started, basically.
okay.
So, and I would also tell them to make sure that, uh, whether you're actually in it for the long haul or not, plan like you're going to be in it for the long haul.
Absolutely.
That you can cultivate that mentality of, I need to invest in this. I need to invest in my brand. I need to not think about necessarily writing that bestseller per se, but what can I do to become the best writer that I can be? How can I improve and evolve my writing at the release of every project? And also, they should have a discernment from, one, being a writer, and then two, understanding the business of publishing. And also, 2.5, understanding how the landscape evolves very quickly in publishing. When I first got in the game in 2004, man, things evolved so fast. And I was like, wow, you got to eat your Wheaties just keeping up with the trends. And I would also tell them, even though doing your research and trying to keep up with the trends and understanding the literary business takes some work, don't be intimidated by it, because the more you learn, the better chance that you're going to get as far as putting yourself in the best position to be successful as an author. And success as a writer and an author is very, very subjective.
Yes. Everybody has a different idea. Um,
Right.
Probably a universal idea, especially for new authors,
Right.
is to have your first book that you wrote, which is more than likely, uh, more likely than not, that's an
Right.
autobiography.
Right.
Then you're not going to sell 1 million copies. I mean, that's not going to happen. And you're not going to be on Oprah, even though Oprah doesn't exist anymore as a show.
Right.
But like you say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's, you have to, everybody I know that's been successful, whatever breakthrough they got, it wasn't on their first book.
Right.
Unless they were already a celebrity. That's different.
That's a different story.
That's a
Correct.
different story, because the celebrities, they don't even write their books. They have a ghostwriter.
Right.
And so that's a whole different game. Um, but it's a long-term thing. Unless you just want it to be a one-off, you just want to write one book just to get it out of your system. A lot of people do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what I've come across is that, and again, I'm not trying to judge anybody. Everybody's got their own ideas and everybody's got their own objectives. But when they ask me, I'm going to tell them. And listen, if you can write a banger your first book and retire off of that, more power to you. But nowadays, I think so many people are focused on the prospect of going viral simply because, like, when you look at the record industry, the new record label is social media or YouTube, basically. And so from an author perspective, if you are already an influencer and people like everything that you say, you could be on there talking about drama all the time because people love to hear about drama. Oh, and by the way, I'm about to drop my new book. Bam, that's a whole different ball game. And so, but at the same time, you almost have to have that mentality of the biggest loser or a person who wins the lottery. What happens? You win $1 billion, but this didn't change. The mindset didn't change. Or, what happens on The Biggest Loser a lot. Once the show ends, they gain that weight back. And I always say it's all about your process. If you can start from scratch and develop yourself, develop your craft, develop your brand, and regardless of what you're doing on social media, keep developing your writing skills, keep developing marketing ideas, and in your business plan, don't base everything on the prospect of going viral. But if you should go viral, just be ready for it. But I will say this, if you've taken the time and put the work in to develop your foundation, nobody's going to be able to take that away from you, period. Absolutely. And again, going viral, what goes up fast comes down fast.
Yeah, I was just going to say that going viral is short-lived.
Right.
Every day there's somebody else who's viral.
Well, the thing about going viral is that you can't just live on that. You need to build a platform, even with your book. Don't just depend on the book. Start to build a platform and make the book part of that platform, or going viral part of that platform, but it shouldn't be everything.
Right.
And it's so unpredictable and it's really out of your control.
It is, because
the what goes viral is like, it's like the lotto. It's like you can't predict it necessarily. And a lot of the stuff that does go viral is drama, or just something cute. It's random. It's totally random. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's gonna go viral and what isn't. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, this has been maybe, and I'm hoping you all saw it, so I'm not, so you know what I'm referring to. But this was about, I want to say 4 years ago. It might have been during COVID. I don't know. But it was a cute video of a Black father talking to his toddler son, but the toddler couldn't actually talk. So they were having like a back and forth conversation, and the toddler was responding in basically baby talk. But he filmed it and it went viral. And I think he ended up on Good Morning America or a show like that. But it was quick. It was like a flash. It went viral. He was on TV for a week or two, and then that was it. Y'all remember that? It was a young Black father, and his son was a toddler. And I want to say the son might have been.
No, I haven't seen that, but I will say that there was a young man who used to make his friends exercise. And he would always say, "Strength, no mercy." He was a Jamaican kid. And he would have his kids doing push-ups and sit-ups and everything. And he's older now. He's probably either a teenager or in his early 20s, but now he's a motivational speaker. So that's why I'm saying that you can take your viral moments and build a platform with you. You just can't depend on going viral with every video.
Right. And I would say try to go viral on something that's uplifting or positive. I don't know. There's there's so much. The algorithm forces stuff on your feed.
Yeah, like the
You know,
demure girl. She said that changed her life. She said demure one time on TikTok and started a whole trend. Now everybody's talking about being demure and mindful
Mhm.
and cutesy. And it's a whole trend on TikTok now. And she said that changed her life just because she said it that one time.
I said I didn't even know about that one. So that's another thing. Something can go viral, and you don't need like everybody to see it. You can get maybe 500,000 people seeing
Mm-hmm.
it, and that makes a big difference.
It's all right. We're gonna make Mark's books go viral. We're gonna
Yeah.
say you need to do your books demure, be mindful.
Yeah, Coco Inferno. Okay, so in the last 4 minutes, uh, did you have a poem in your mind that you can recite that to take us out?
Actually, I do not.
You do not.
Actually, I do not. But I will say that I've got plenty of uh, poetry written, and I've got plenty of poetry recorded out there. The digital downloads are available everywhere. Music can be downloaded, iTunes and all of those places. And also, wherever books are sold. So, and then of course there are a couple of places where you can peek inside as well. Um, but and I will say this about viral. I had to make this point. I'm sorry for going back to
No.
this. The bottom line is you don't ever want to put yourself in a position to where you have to sell your soul to what made you famous.
Yes.
Amen to that.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
you sell your soul to that and you cannot get it back.
Right.
So, but at any rate, I've got in 20 years, I got my poetry everywhere. So, but again, I'm still multi-genre. I am also in the process of writing another trilogy.
Okay.
So getting back into the fiction. And what I'm trying to do now, I was advised to don't stagger the release of those books, but try to release them all at the same time. And so, and by the way, Coco Inferno has a fiction short story in the final chapter. And so, and because, most of the time I actually do poetry, I just didn't have anything on my mind. I will do a piece real quick, real short piece from the first chapter called Cocoa Powder Flow.
Okay.
And it reads, as she slept, my nose crept into the, listen, no, I don't think I can do that. I don't think they're ready for that. Actually, I had from another interview, I had some poetry selected and I lost my doggone sticky that I had. And I always like to do pieces when I get on here. I just didn't have one off the top of my head ready because I was gonna dig into some other publishing stuff during the interview. Let me. I don't want to do it.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, but I had some certain pieces from this book that I thought were PG rated.
Okay.
It's not, listen, I don't call this book, it's not erotica. I call it mature romance, mature romantic poetry, but it's not suitable. Like, for instance, I had an interview at a gospel station, and the person who interviewed me, they did not necessarily want to talk about the poetry per se. They wanted to talk about my process for writing, but they let me advertise the book. And so now let me do this though. Let me read, I can read the back of the book.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
As if rock and fire love poetry from the core weren't enough, now you have to deal with this cocoa explosion of heated lyrics which causes passion to burn upon contact. Tempting lyrics of blazing mahogany ecstasy. That's right. Welcome to the here and now. Introducing Rockin' Fire Part 2, Coco Inferno. Your mind may say no, but your eyes will definitely say yes upon your attention being held hostage should you be brave enough to crack open the cover. If you feel guilty after the poetry begins performing a rhapsodic transfusion of your literary subsystem, it only means your appetite for indulgence is authentic. But please be warned, after about the fifth cold shower, they will no longer be effective to offset the impact of the slowly encroaching heat wave.
Okay.
See, that's why I said you are a true poet, because that was just the description on the back of the book.
Yeah, and a romantic.
Right, right. So now my style has evolved because listen, I'm traveling across the nation. Them ladies do not want to hear a brother stand up there and recite some politically correct poetry.
They don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
They want to hear the
Yeah,
most whatever rated poetry you have.
Yeah, I get it.
They want to do it. They want you to do it. So
yeah, that's why they show up.
right. Right.
Well, Mark,
I will say, Mark, I love looking at your evolution. You know, we started in this game the same year, 2004.
Well, I was a little bit ahead of you all, but
yeah. No, Mark and I met each other at the Queen's Book Fair. Back in 2004, and we were both new authors, both promoting our first books, and so we've kind of seen each other's evolution over the years. So it's always a pleasure to be able to see you doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to connect with. I don't want to say old friends, but connect with friends from back in the day, and we're still friends to this day. And and I was looking at the screen. I don't know why the doggone closed caption is on my screen. So the words are just flying across my face for some reason.
Okay,
I don't know if that was a setting on my part.
Yeah, it's not on this end, so you're good.
Okay. So, yeah, because I was looking at it on the actual page, and I was like, "Oh man, I must have hit something I shouldn't have hit." But
oh no, it on the online on Facebook, it's closed caption.
Right. Okay.
The show is closed caption.
Right. Right.
It is. So, because even when you do the replay, like it'll be closed caption. So, because sometimes people they have the volume low, so they don't want to miss any of the words.
I just hate it's got to go across my face. That's all.
Oh.
That's all.
Well, don't worry, we don't see it.
No, it's not on the screen here.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, actually, it is on Facebook, but it's
not
on
Facebook.
Though.
It's on Facebook, but not on here.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Anyway. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much for being back on the show, and congratulations on the release of Coco Inferno. And it's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and a blessing to be back here. Hey, visit marclacy.com, amazon.com. Please get your copy today, or copies.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you. Likewise. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.